Hey friends, what's up? Phillip here with the Points of Phillip, and today I'm going to give a rundown of my past year with hotel stays and figure out what program is probably going to be my preferred program moving forward into 2026. So, for those of you that don't know, I do have two really high profile, high annual fee travel cards with hotel chains. We have the Hilton Aspire card, and that has an annual fee of $550. And then I also have the Ritz Carlton card. So I do love both of these cards, but I will say that going into last year, I kind of had a perception of Hilton being my preferred program with the diamond status. And then Marriott was going to be my secondary program with the gold lead status. And so we're going to go into kind of everything that I've stayed at. I've stayed at 3 hotel chains so far this past year, between Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt. And then we're going to talk about my favorite stays, where I stayed for the past year, and kind of get into what I think might be my personal favorite going into the new year. So let's start with Hilton. So we have the Hilton Aspire card, we have Hilton Diamond status, and we've been able to actually earn quite a bit on points. And so let's go ahead and get into starting with this past year. And so my wife and I, we did a paid stay at the Conrad London St. James last December. And so my wife and I, last December, we went to Europe. So we went to London, and then we went to Paris, and then we kind of got, just kind of hung out around those places. So the first couple nights we stayed at London, we stayed at the Conrad London St. James, and we actually ended up paying through I think we paid in cash through the Fine Hotels and Resorts program. Actually, no, they were part of the hotel collection. But what that gave us, so because we actually, we paid for the base rate, they didn't really give us much in the way of an upgrade, but we also arrived at the hotel at 8 a.m. And, we're just trying to figure out, because we flew into London Heathrow, we got there really early, we did the transfer directly to the hotel, and then we actually ended up, because we had diamond status, getting free access to the executive lounge. From there, we were able to actually utilize the shower suites and actually kind of hang out, have breakfast there, and then we were able to actually leave our bags with the bellman. And we were able to kind of go around and actually start exploring immediately that day. We felt a little bit refreshed because we were able to have a nice cup of tea, nice breakfast in front of a roaring fireplace, have a hot shower, and then go about our day. So that was a solid way to start the day. So we were happy with that particular situation. That was really great. The Conrad service was impeccable. The free breakfasts were nice. Having the free lounge access was also really, really nice. Being able to just pop down and get a Coke at the night or a cappuccino at the end of the night for free, sit in front of a fireplace, read a book. It's just really, being able to have access to a lounge is kind of insane, because if you just want a snack, you just pop down. You don't have to worry about a mini bar. You don't have to worry about kind of ordering takeout, the whole 9 yards. It really does change kind of your hotel stay. In addition, the Conrad had some really, really insane service. So they gave us a turn down service where they sprayed our pillow with a chamomile spray, and then they gave us mints and things, and gave us, pulled out the slippers and the whole 9 yards. It was an incredible experience that was amazing, which ended up actually being why we went back. So my wife and I, we decided we wanted to go back for a spring break. So we went to London again, and then Paris again, where we then went to Disneyland Paris. And we stayed at the London Conrad St. James again. Now, this one actually kind of ended up being a weird thing. So we paid in cash. But what I didn't realize was I actually made the booking for February. So it was the same dates I needed, but in February, and it was actually substantially cheaper than it was in March. And so I did book a non-refundable stay because I was trying to save money, because we did have to pay cash for that flight. Now, by all accounts, I was up a creek, right? But we had diamond status, so I called the diamond line on the back of my Hilton Aspire card. And I told them, I didn't know what I could do, just try to check what's going on. And they said the best bet was to just directly reach out to the property. And so I had the ability to actually just message the property directly through the Hilton app. And they said, oh, that's no problem. They rebooked my stay at this at the February rate. And so we saved probably $300 a night just by being able to do that. So they definitely did not have to do that. There was absolutely nothing in the terms and conditions that would have made them do that. And so that was really solid. Having diamond status, having, that wonderful hotel was very important. And of course, again, They actually did upgrade us to that one. On that particular stay, we had a rooftop room, which was a little bit bigger, and then ended up having a really good, cool view of not Downton Abbey, but Westminster Abbey. There we go. And so that was really nice too. Now, the Conrad at London, very kind of just amazing property. Love it. So we stayed there. And then in March, we ended up actually using Marriott points. Actually, no, Hilton points. So this was Hilton points that we stayed at. And this is actually where I used one of my free night awards last year. So I used a free night certificate at this Canopy by Hilton Paris Eiffel Tower. So this is actually the closest Hilton to the Eiffel Tower. It's across the river and just down the street from the Trocadero, or the Trocadero. And so we used points for 2 nights, and then we used the free night award for that, and it was about $400 per night if we paid directly. Now, that was pretty solid. They gave us amazing free breakfast, and then here's the thing, though. So the day before we were set to arrive, we ended up taking the Eurostar from London to Paris. We ended up actually getting kind of an in-app notification that we had been upgraded. We had been upgraded from just a standard king-sized room to a king-size junior suite with a balcony. And here's where it gets amazing. They told us we had this room classification and we could choose where we wanted to be. And so I took a look at the hotel, took a look at kind of where the Eiffel Tower was, and I was able to pick the room that actually had a view from our balcony of the Eiffel Tower. Just mind blown. So this hotel is amazing. They upgraded us. We had free breakfast. We had free hot breakfast, which was amazing. We could order kind of whatever we wanted, French toast, waffles, pancakes, the whole 9 yards, in addition to the full buffet, and it was completely covered, completely free. That was amazing. I think the only thing we actually ended up charging the room was some laundry, and maybe I think we ordered room service a couple times, and so that was really kind of solid there. This was an amazing stay. And the people were incredible. The property is incredible. It's kind of newer. It does have air conditioning, which apparently in Paris is kind of difficult. Our first night that we stayed in Paris with Marriott did not have air conditioning, but it was in December, so it ended up not being that big of a deal. So that was really, really solid. Now, for this March trip, we actually ended up staying 2 nights at a bed and breakfast in Bourton on the Water, which is out in the Cotswolds. There's a little river running right down the center of the downtown area. It's just adorable little place. It was about, I think I want to say £300 per night, and we ended up actually putting that on our Venture card at the time. But yeah, actually no, they only took Visa, so we did have to put it on the Ritz-Carlton card actually. So that was nice. But so that's our stay for that particular trip. Next, we're going to get in. The next Hilton stay I stayed at was in June. So in June, my wife and I, we just stayed 2 nights at the Canopy by Hilton, West Palm Beach, downtown. And so this actually was a 2-night stay that was paid for with the hotel collection. So this was completely paid for through the hotel collection. I used pretty much that credit actually covered pretty much the entire thing. I think we only had $100 left over. And so that was really solid. So this particular property is in the hotel collection, which means you get a $100 property credit. I did find out that that was only available for food, but then they also told us that we had, I think it was $15 per person per night of food credit on top of that. And so we had $160 in food credits. And so we ended up actually doing the breakfast, which we actually got for free actually. Well, no, we didn't get for free. It was covered in the cost of the credits. But then I went to the rooftop bar a number of times for snacks and for lunch, and then, just for drinking, because the rooftop also had a pool, which was really nice, especially in West Palm Beach in June. So that was really solid as well. And so we ended up actually paying for, so that was covered through the Amex program. That was really solid. The points earned, we ended up earning 16,000 points just off of kind of, I think the parking we were able to run through the room, and that was, I want to say $30 or $40 a night, valet parking. And so that was solid. So that particular trip, the next night, then we stayed at the Conrad Fort Lauderdale Beach. This one we paid, I think this was a points room actually. So this was a points room. This was really solid. Now, one thing, actually, no, it wasn't a points room. I booked it through the Fine Hotels and Resorts program. And so because of that, I was hoping to get an upgrade. We paid for the base, kind of the junior suite, and then we ended up getting an upgrade to the 1-bedroom ocean view suite. And so this was really a nice upgrade. That was great. When we checked in, now they told us that we were part of the Fine Hotels and Resorts credit. And then he also told us our diamond benefits. that becomes important. So this one at the Conrad was $25 per person per night, so an extra $50 on top of the $100 in credit, and then the free breakfast as well. So there was a ton of credits that we were supposed to get. However, when we were checking out, now the stay was amazing. It was really great. The service probably wasn't as good as a Conrad in London, but that's to be expected. It's a beach property. It's a huge property, honestly. And so just getting the upgrade was kind of nice. And but when we got checked out, they weren't giving us our diamond credits. And so this was kind of a problem. I didn't want to be too terrible over the front desk. The front desk agent was just like, that's not really a thing. We don't offer that. And the Fine Hotels and Resorts, it's an either or. And so I said, that's not what we were told at checkout. Asked him to put a notation in the reservation that I had said that. He did. And then I went ahead and called back later. And so I messaged in the hotel app, ended up calling the hotel a couple of times. And then I ended up getting a conversation with the general manager who decided, even though I misheard them, I would be able to get a one-time benefit because I'm a diamond member, blah, 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 blah. Nothing makes me feel worse about a high-level property than having to haggle with the general manager over $50 and being told that I misheard them, but they were going to do me a solid just this one time. So, not a fan of Conrad Fort Lauderdale Beach, honestly. I will stay there again, but I will be mentally prepared for a fight, and I don't care for that one bit. Now, the Hampton Inn we stayed at, so a buddy of mine, we went to the Louisville. So we stayed at the Hampton Inn by the Louisville airport. It was an older property that had been renovated probably in the last 6 to 7 years. And so they had one elevator. It barely worked, but it was fine. We ended up actually paying, I think, out of pocket for this one, if I remember correctly. And so it was the Hampton Inn at an airport, so I think it was like $80 or $90 per night. In Louisville, it was not a bad rate, not a bad stay. There you go. For diamond status, they gave us the option to have 2 canned Cokes per night. So there we go. And then we stayed at, for the next one, was actually at the Caribe Hilton in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So this one actually ended up being registered as 3 separate stays. So the first stay was for 2 nights, and that was actually one of the things that I was able to book early on. So I paid for points, so 75,000 points, whatever it was. So 150,000 points for the 2 nights. And so, yeah. But anyway, then I had another night that was also for points because eventually kind of those particular nights actually ended up becoming available. So I used that, 70,000 points. And then I ended up actually paying in cash for the third stay, the 4th night. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to use my Hilton Aspire credit. And so Hilton, despite the fact that the property had a $50 a night kind of activities fee or resort fee, they don't charge it when you actually do point bookings. So I only had to pay that for that final night. And that final night was the cheaper of the 2 nights. And so that was $250, not including taxes, and $200 of that was covered. And so that was kind of the whole the whole thing. I did end up paying for my business platinum. I put 1 night on it because we did room service charge. That was covered mostly on that. And so we ended up only having to pay like close to maybe like $200 on my Aspire card for this entire stay. The Hilton Caribe was really great. They gave us a cool room on the beach wing, which is the one it's the oldest wing, but it's the one that's closest to the water, which is nice. It opens up right into the main part of the lobby. And then they had their interpretation of the free breakfast was that they gave you the free continental breakfast for everybody. And then there was a $20 per person charge for an upgrade to a hot breakfast. It was definitely not worth that particular upgrade, even despite the fact that there was an omelet bar and a waffle bar. So we only took them up on that upgrade, I think, 1 night or 1 morning. And so that's what we stayed at Hilton. So Hilton's internationally far and above better at recognizing diamond status than Hilton stays in the United States, and including the one in Puerto Rico. Now that was a great stay. Loved the resort. It was great, but they kind of fell short on the diamond benefits just a little bit, and so that was kind of where we're at there. So all in all, really some really great properties, some really solid stays. Had to kind of argue with a general manager at a Fort Lauderdale Conrad, so that was kind of frustrating. But all in all, not terrible, right? So let's go ahead and go into my Marriott stays and what I did. So in October, let's see. Okay, yeah. So in December, I actually stayed at the Le Métropolitain Paris Tour Eiffel Tribute Portfolio Hotel. So this actually is a half a block away from the Canopy Hilton that I stayed at. And we actually used our free night certificates for this one. So we stayed for, let's see, 4 nights total that we stayed at this particular property. We didn't get upgraded. We were on the second floor, but that actually ended up being cool because we had kind of a Juliet balcony that we were able to actually just open up. And despite the fact they didn't have air conditioning, that was enough to cool the room because it was in December. Really solid place. They had a really cool Asian restaurant that was actually really not bad. The in service room or the in service or in room dining was actually really solid. Really great hotel. We just decided to be a little bit closer to the metro stop and then have the room with Hilton for the second trip. But this trip in December was really, really solid. Loved that particular hotel stay. Very beautiful lobby, wonderful front staff. They actually gave us umbrellas to use during our stay when it rained. Just an amazing, incredible opportunity. That was great. Used the points for that. That was a free night award that we got for signing up for the Bonvoy Boundless card. So that was really nice. Fast forward to July, we stayed at the AC Hotel in downtown Huntsville. Now, we stayed at one night, point-based stay, and I think the only thing we had to pay for was parking. And so that whole thing was there. The stay rate was really, really solid. I think it was only like maybe 18,000 points for that night, but it was only about, I saved us, I think, like $350. And so that was really, actually, no, sorry. This one was my 35,000 point free night award. And so I didn't have to add on anything to it. I think it was like 28,000 or something like that. Actually, the 18,000 was the second stay that I'm going to mention here in a little bit. So this was in July. Great hotel. The AC properties are great. They are kind of modern, really kind of in cool places and downtown areas that are really nice. And so we love that particular stay. We tried to get, I think, yeah, so that was a frustrating thing. But anyway, we also stayed at there was no frustrating thing actually with that one. The AC Hotel Atlanta Perimeter. This one we stayed at again with points. This one was 18,000 points per night. I think it was only like $175 or $200 per night for that particular hotel, but that was a nice stay. So it was relatively close to where we wanted to go. That kind of the north suburb of Atlanta, and this was really a cheap hotel. The only thing that was kind of a frustrating thing was that the air conditioner didn't work so hot, so they did have to re-room us very soon after that whole thing. So that was kind of the only kind of issue there. But all in all, pretty good stays. Really didn't expect that much because we only had gold status. We didn't even get free food. But, good solid hotel stays. Honestly, not that bad. And the value proposition of the hotel stays, not bad. Would I have transferred 18,000 Chase points or Amex points for that stay? No. But I did have those because fortunately I was able to had the free night certificate. Plus I also had a referral for the Bonvoy Boundless card. And so that ended up paying for that. So that was nice too. But if I have the points, using them for the stay, I was happy with. It was a nice day. It was a great hotel and an area that I wanted to be at, and that really worked for me. So happy with Marriott. Again, I think the reason why I had really great success here was because I really didn't expect that much because we didn't have that much kind of loyalty status with Marriott. And so that's important to note. Next, we're going to take a look at Hyatt. So in last December, we stayed at the Park Hyatt in New York. Now, I bought points for this stay because it was like $600, $700 for the points. They were on sale. And we bought the points and we stayed at a room that was would have cost me $1,500 if I just purchased it directly. And so, yeah, I'll do that every day. So that was a really amazing opportunity. We told them that it was our anniversary, which actually was that night. So that was solid. And they actually upgraded us to a room that had a view of Central Park, a much, much bigger room. It wasn't a one-bedroom suite, but it was kind of a junior suite, huge room, lots of room to spread out, a sitting area. We ended up actually getting room service to this place. They brought the whole table with us. They set it up. It was an incredible experience. It was an amazing property. Loved it. We didn't get free breakfast because, well, we don't have any loyalty status with Hyatt, but it was really, really nice. Now, the next stay that we stayed at was in July. We stayed at the Hyatt Regency on Capitol Hill. And so this is actually really, really close to Capitol Hill. It's like a block away from the actual building. And this one was really nice. I want to say it was like 25,000 points per night. And so that was really huge. So we actually just transferred the 50,000 points to this day, stayed there for 2 nights during the week of July 4th. And so that was a really nice stay. It's an older property. I want to say like maybe 30 years old, but they were in the middle of renovating. Now that did mean the lobby was kind of a mess, but we did actually have a room that had just recently been renovated. It still smelled like fresh drywall. And so that was really nice, being able to be kind of the first people in a room. There really wasn't much of a view. We actually had a view of the line for the food bank down the street, but, so not much of a view, but we were kind of where we wanted to be in a place that actually wasn't that bad. And so that was a really solid opportunity. Next, I stayed at the Hyatt Place Greenville for November, and this one was 5,000 points per night, but it barely, I think it was like $90 a night or something like that if I just paid cash. So, the cent per point rate, still not that good, depending on the fact that, it was only 5,000 points. Not a good stay. The elevators kind of did whatever they wanted. I was, the room barely closed. Like I had to like jump on the door in order to actually get it to the door to latch. But, the bed was fine. The room was a good sized. It was a Hyatt Place, and so there was a little couch sitting area. I'd actually never turned the TV on. But the Wi-Fi was terrible. I couldn't even upload a video. So I actually had to use Daniel Sparks's studio in order to be able to actually go on a live stream. But, it is what it is, right? It's a Hyatt Place. You don't expect that much. And so there you go. So with everything that I talked about, I had the most frustrations with Hilton, but I think the reason why I had the most frustrations is because I had the highest expectations. We were staying at the nicest properties and had the highest status. And so we kind of expected a lot. We got a lot, but one particular property kind of let us down a little bit. That was frustrating. And, there were some frustrations with the Caribe Hilton with the breakfast thing. I feel like they should have interpreted things a little bit differently, but clearly they did not. So there is that. Now, I really do, I have to think about the fact that Hilton, they've changed their kind of award program in some kind of not fun ways, right? They have meant that the caps of their rooms have reached up to 250,000 points, where they used to be 150,000, but kind of most things were 70 to 100,000 per night. And honestly, I like Hilton as a transfer partner because it's 1-2 with American Express, which means if a room is 100,000 points, it's actually 50,000 membership reward points. Now, here's the problem about that, though, is that 50,000 membership reward points can get me a business class ticket overseas plus some, right? It can also get me 3 to 4 premium economy seats overseas as well. So there's a lot of really kind of interesting things here where I think the problem is that, as a transfer partner, it's more strong than Marriott, certainly, but it's still not the best, right? And so that's definitely something to consider. Hyatt is still just a really, really strong transfer partner. Would I have made those stays if their point system wasn't as strong? Absolutely not. And so that's kind of an important thing to note. And so that's definitely something that I want to consider. So I think moving forward, we're still going to kind of prefer Hiltons. In fact, the stays that we're planning in November are going to be primarily Hilton properties, but there's a lot of different options of places that we kind of want to go to. So that's going to be really solid. So that's kind of where we're at. I think I'm probably still going to be primarily Hilton, despite the fact that there are some frustrations with the brand. But honestly, I've had really great stays with Marriott and with Hyatt for that matter. So we definitely won't have as strong of a brand loyalty moving into the new year as we have in the past. Maybe I'll definitely be more willing to kind of factor in the location of where we want to go, or maybe if kind of which kind of points I actually have based on where I am at the time I actually make the booking. And so I definitely probably won't default to Hilton as much as I have in the past, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.